Okay, so welcome everybody. You could prepare your space by lighting a candle if you want to. I want to add to what we've spoken about last time about our experiences in Ireland. And so I just want to do a quick catch up about what I shared about our experiences with the trees in Ireland. Last time we spoke about how the trees were waiting for us to come and started channeling through me without me expecting it. The beautiful tree at the Ross Abbey, the 500-year-old yew tree. And then we had all the other trees connecting to that energy. After the tree wrote some tree language into our hearts, and I can just call it squiggles. That's how I see it. It's like weird squiggly bits that is written into our hearts. So what happened in America is, as you all know, I couldn't wait to see the Redwoods. That's the only reason I went. But I think Spirit always has an agenda, and they take me where they want me to be. And sometimes it comes with a lot of surprises, things I didn't expect. But that's the way I operate. I just show up. I listen to when I am called. I listen to when I'm asked to trust and to trust in miracles, and I just show up. So I wanted to share that on the first day we went to Yosemite National Park. And of course, oh, it was amazing, those first sights. The rocks are gigantic and the waterfalls, and it's really bigger than anything I've ever seen. I mean, we've got huge mountains in South Africa, but it's like it just doesn't compare. And so the energy was so intense and vibrant. But there were people, not as much, but there were people around, which I'm not so fond of or good at dealing with. Focus on the energy of nature when there's a lot of people around me. But eventually we came to the trees a bit late. Now remember, I didn't know all the trees that was going to follow. My sister-in-law kept saying to me, I'll show you lots of trees. But I'm like, I think Yosemite is going to be the biggest tree. So I need to find those trees. And so we started on this route, the three of us, she and I and my mother-in-law, who's 80 now, almost 81 in a couple of weeks. But the route was too hectic and my mother-in-law couldn't do it. So my sister-in-law turned around to take my mother-in-law back, and I just walked alone. So I did see that it was going to be 8 miles, and I mean, I know that's a lot in kilometers, but I was driven and I needed to see those redwoods. So by the time I did reach the first ones, I was quite sore. All of you know what I've been dealing with in my body, health-wise. So my hips were very sore. I could hardly walk at that stage, but I mean, just to see those first trees. But there weren't a lot of them. My sister-in-law told me later that last time she was there 5 years ago, there were many more. I didn't know if maybe they were more further in, but because we were so late, the sun was going down. And they didn't know where I was, so I decided to turn back to thank the ones that I did see. I couldn't really touch any of them because they were behind barriers. It was only when I walked on a bit where I found some that I could be alone with. There were no other people around. And I also found a beautiful, how can I say it? Just a stream of water gusting out of the earth next to one of the trees. And so my water bottle was already empty and I filled it up. And it was just so amazing drinking that water. And so I had to make a decision whether I was going to take the difficult route back, or whether I was going to take the tar road back, which I thought went in the same direction, or I had a sense of it should come to the same point where they were waiting for me. But it was a winding road and I was so tall, and it went downhill. So I was braking all the while, and you have to go around all the windings. Such a long time. I think it was even more than 8 miles back. But it was such an amazing inner process. And what started coming through was the goddess eye, which I didn't expect to come through in America. So we spoke about her last time and how I connected with her and offered my body to her and told her that she could use this body or use me as a vehicle for her energy as she needed. And I started feeling her coming through me, and she asked me to start waking up the trees. I didn't know the trees were asleep or anything, but the trees I connected with, it was like they were hibernating deep down in the earth. It was really difficult to reach them. So I started, just started sort of chanting for them to wake up. And as far as I went, it was just this chanting and calling them. And this road that I was on was so beautiful. Unlike the other path, which was through the bushes and trees, this path was quite open because it was a tar road going down. And I had these vistas of the forest and of the sun going down. You will see it in my photos that I've shared. And just so many beautiful things that I photographed and experienced on my way down. All the while worrying, because by now I have been gone for 5 hours. I couldn't contact my sister-in-law. She didn't buy a package so that I would be able to phone her. Also, there was no reception. Even if I could have contacted her on WhatsApp, I mean, it probably wouldn't have happened. So it was past 6 o'clock in the evening there. The sun was low. I was really worried, and I just started sending out vibes that I'm coming, just stay put, I'm coming. And at one stage, I remember hearing hooves behind me on the tar road, and I looked back because I thought, because you know me, I always ask Mother Nature for special meetings with her creatures and to be able to see her through a creature's eyes. And I was really hoping to see a deer behind me. But then I realized it was the god Pan that was walking behind me and sort of, bringing up the rear. And as I kept going down and it became darker and dark, I heard the clicking of nails behind me. And again, there was no wolf or bear, but I realized it was my wolf, Odin's spirit, walking with me. So, all kinds of different things coming up. And it really felt to me at that stage that I couldn't connect to the trees, that they were just unresponsive. But I just kept asking them and calling to them and calling to the forest. And when I finally reached the bottom, I couldn't climb down the stairs anymore. When I got to stairs that was going to the car, couldn't bend my knees anymore. I was really, really sore. I got there and everything worked out perfectly. And the whole trip was sort of, yes, there were difficulties, but I know why they were there. But orchestrated difficulties and things that I had to learn and perceive of my family-in-law and myself. And I really set out to make this a special experience for my mother-in-law, because this was her trip with her 2 daughters, and then my husband joined later. So it was quite fun, and we stayed in interesting motels and places. But we went down a road called the Redwood Highway. And from that road, you could take the Avenue of the Giant, which sort of crisscrossed the highway and took us into these little forests. There aren't a lot of redwoods left. It's sort of like, I think, it's long stretches behind this road and highways and things like that. In some spaces you could hear the highways, but when you enter into those forests, there's a quiet that you can perceive. It's not like a quiet you hear, because you can still hear the highway and you can still hear the bird, but it's a feeling of absolute quiet and majesty. It's really like a holy space. And in the one forest where we were completely alone, it was so silent, I couldn't even hear birds. I started chanting. And I was chanting the Om vibration through the forest as I walked. And then in the one space, I put my forehead against the trunk of a tree and I chanted this into the tree. And then I started feeling the vibration coming back through my heart center into my head. And I could feel the tree responding. And from there, I started receiving these messages and the names of the trees. And they all added a little scribble of tree language into my heart center. It felt like every tree sort of hung something on what was written there before. At the end, it felt like I was wearing chainmail, because it was like clink, 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 and then the next row of clink, clink, and they added wherever they needed to until it sort of solidified within me. So experience with the redwoods, I mean, you expect them to be large, you expect them to be old, but the experience of them is beyond this world. I cannot even describe it. And I wonder if somebody has a question there, maybe. Okay. I don't have one face to look at right now, only my own. But anyway, so what else can I tell you? So with the trees, it was very prominent, the calling back the earth spirit, calling back the trees to the surface, calling back all earth spirits, all forest spirits. There are gigantic rocks between these trees. They are just as huge and present, especially in Yosemite. And it was like I had to call back all of these earth spirits, because the goddess I kept telling them that change is coming and they need to awaken. They need to be part of this change. It was sort of like what happened yesterday in South Africa, and we all had to vote, and everybody's vote helped to make a difference in some way or other. And it was like she was calling to them to bring back their energy and to come and help decide what the change can be. They had to decide to take part in this change. And I realized how important it is actually for us to link this energy together and to be that catalyst, or that little thing in between that connects them again and connects them back to earth. So, and some of the places by then, it's like the roots have carried this information, and some of them were already waiting for me. And like in other spaces as well, I feel like in Yosemite, the trees were very deeply asleep, hibernating, because there's a lot of people and a lot of tourism, and they are sort of present there and holding the space, but they are not actively there. It's like they are more beneath the ground as the forest, as the whole. And so when I came to these, I can only call it parts of Redwoods, energies changed. You could see the spaces where the trees were happy. There were more undergrowth, there were more birds, there was more undergrowth. So things changed from the one part to the other. And it was all about the acknowledgement of what people bring to that space. Some of the spaces had walkways, so it was easier for people to stop and be there, and the trees would be more silent. But in the spaces where there were much more undergrowth and ferns, and it was just so vibrant, and especially the Archangel Roselle reminds me, some of these spaces had these beautiful water streams, they call it creeks, and it was very difficult to try and catch that color and capture it on a photo. It's exactly my favorite color. It's this aqua bit of green, beautiful blue, and it was like I just couldn't exactly capture that on a photograph. But the purity of that water, how you could see into that water and could see the little stones beneath that water. It was so amazing, and every little stone had a story to tell. And that's where we also came to those beaches. You would have seen me going crazy, picking up stones. I brought all of them home. But when I couldn't pick up anymore, I just took photos because they were all so beautiful. And the different energies that they portrayed. There was the one beach with the lighter stones with the brown markings. Those stones are so light, they feel like wood, like you're carrying wood. They almost have no weight. And they had a light vibration, very uh, pure and playful. And then on the same coast, we came to those black beaches, and they call it black sand beaches, but it's also, it's all these black stones with the white streak through them, like veins. And it was a great anchoring energy, and I felt a great release there. And yeah, it was like I was drawn to surrender things that I was still holding inside. And I actually had a couple of places blew that into a stone and threw it into the water to help release it. And this journey has been very much about my parents as well. I felt them talking to me on the airplane on the way there. My mom loved flowers, my dad too, beautiful trees. They planted trees even before I was born that grew into huge, huge fern trees. Um, so, they went on this journey with me, and I could feel how I was concluding stuff with them as well, and stuff that I shouldn't take with me into my future. And by being there, I knew that I couldn't fit into this space anymore here in Vanderbijl Park. It's very difficult to be back in normality. But the power of the ocean there surprised me. It was such a gentle feminine energy, but the waves were very strong. These rocks in the middle of the ocean It's also the soft and the hard rock. So the ocean works the way that soft rock and only these large domes of hard rock with holes in them stand within the shallower space of the ocean. And sometimes it's foggy and misty, and you stand there and you can't see any of it. And then you turn a bit and the sun comes through, and all of a sudden these giants appear out of the mist. I felt like I was Captain Jack sailing through this fog, and all of these powerful rocks were popping up, and I was just standing on the shore. So the vibration of that brought me a sense of strength, but also vulnerability, and realizing how small and vulnerable we are. But it was a beautiful experience. The other spiritual experiences that surprised me was the things that the trees told me were all very basic about, joining and, sort of waiting for people to realize. It's like the tree spirits, almost like the gods and goddesses of Ireland, subsided into earth, waiting for humanity to be ready, waiting for humanity to come into a space of awareness so that they could return and be part of this. So I got a sense of, wow, something spectacular can happen, but also I felt afraid because it felt like that something spectacular is beyond us. It's so far beyond humanity that we cannot even imagine. We are such a tiny part of it. And then I saw this rocket shooting up into space, and I went to Cape Canaveral and seeing how powerful people are feeling and how much they are promoting that we need to go to Mars and, the fate of Earth and all of that. And I thought, the ego is so strong, Phil. And where will we find that balance? We can't know that. But I knew that we have to choose. We have to find a balance. It's almost like you have to choose which side you're going to be on. You're going to be on the side of Earth and returning into that deep prosperity of what nature can bring us, or will we fall into the space of unsupervised is the word that Archangel Raziel gives me. Unsupervised, I can't think of the word right now. Technology, unsupervised technology. So we are finding ourselves in a space where it's almost beautiful technology serves us and it helps us, but it's also in a way controlling us already. And where do we draw that line? At Disney World, I saw a lot of unconscious people. It was really not my scene. Very busy, very hot. I was nauseous every day from the heat, from all the people. And then there was that beauty. The first evening, I had a terrible migraine. I think it was from the heat that I had a bit of a heat stroke. And then I went on the Avatar ride. So the Avatar ride is you get on something like a motorcycle and you fly on the dragons, or they call them, I can't remember. But it was hectic. And remember, I've got a fear of heights that I have been facing, but it was hectic. And something happened with my eyes and the screen. So I got an instant migraine. I ran out, I vomited, I had to go back and vomit again. And then I said to my husband, I need to go to the hotel. And I had a migraine. I lay there. They went back. I said, come and enjoy yourselves. They went to the Magic Kingdom and had themselves a good evening. And I just lay in that space, which I love actually when I have a migraine. I connect with spirits so, so deeply. And I actually felt like I was passing over. The pain became so bad at Disneyland with all the walking that I felt like I'd rather die than continue with this pain. I was in a space where it actually felt like my wolf Odin came to me and called me across the spirit world, and I was following him. And at a stage, I couldn't feel myself breathing anymore. I couldn't feel a heartbeat. It was just like so smooth and gentle. I can't remember where it changed. And I started breathing again, and I came back, and I was just back to normal, and everything was fine. But it was such an amazing experience. And within that experience, that's where I spoke to Walt Disney, and he came to me. So maybe that's why I came back. So Walt Disney said to me that he felt that the purpose of why he created the park were a bit missing right now. It was still about, he wanted to give people joy. He wanted to give people time out from their reality, but also to believe in more, to believe that they're capable of more, to believe that they are capable of dreaming up beautiful things, creating beautiful things that were beyond what they thought was possible. So what I saw at Disney was it's the only place where I've ever felt that I was inhaling sugar against my will. Well, ever inhaling sugar. So the sweetness was just in the air. Even as you go into the hotels, that sweet sugar just comes at you. And then the Walt Disney music's everywhere. It drives you crazy. It's outside of the hotel, it's inside of the hotel, it's just not inside your room. Everywhere else, it's on the bus, everywhere. So to me, that's very sensitive. It was like a sensory overdrive. There's no place you just go and calm and relax. And I felt that with the animals as well. And the little squirrels that I connected with. Do you remember the raccoon? That raccoon was so awesome. The rabbits. I spoke about the rabbit that ran away from the fireworks at least 10 or 15 minutes before it started. The ducks, there were so many animals, and they were all constantly bombarded with this music. And then also with other things happening, like random plays popping up everywhere, and loud noises, and the noises of the rides. In the animal kingdom, the rides are even between the animals' cages or encampment. It's really hectic. But at least they started closing the animal kingdom at 6 in the evening to keep the animals ready. But I don't know if it's enough. So Walt Disney asked me to go and check on the animals. And there is a lot of beauty. There's a lot of wild nature between the parks. As you drive on the bus between the parks, there's a lot of wild nature, like the swamp nature, where you can imagine the crocodiles between. And I do think they are trying to be aware, but there's a lot of things where it just gets lost. There's this crazy buying. People just want to buy everything. They were. Every evening you would see people just picking out new stuff. All the shelves were empty, and the park wasn't even half. I think it wasn't not even a quarter of the amount of people that could be there at a busy time. It was crazy. And I thought, when we got back to the hotel the one evening at 10, 11, and we saw the raccoon. There were still people and kids going up and down. I thought, when do these animals get a chance to actually just find food or just to be? So it's a bit scary, but I also know that we need to start living together. And this is something that the wolves have also taught me, that some way nature will have to live with humans in a new way in order to go forward. So, but Walt Disney asked me to, send energy to the animals and to the park so that people can be inspired again and not just go for a shopping spree. What I realized was that people went and they wanted something to show that they were at Disney. And some people bought something like a badge at every ride. I would hear them. I would be in the shops while my husband would be in a queue to go on a ride. And I was just watching and being aware of what was happening and the kind of people that went there. So I don't think it's wrong. I think it's where we are as a human race, as a species. But it's sort of like we need to choose where we want to be part of that or not. Of course, that part is nice as well. I loved buying stuff for my kids and bringing it home, the affordable stuff. So, and to surprise them with that, but it didn't have to be as extravagant as a lot of the other people made it. Everything was Disney themed. I think we were the only people at Disneyland not wearing Disney clothing, having a Disney backpack or Disney stroller or something like that. It was very weird. So I love talking to Walt Disney, and I loved him walking with me the times that I were walking alone, because I didn't feel capable of going on the more hectic rides. So that brought another perspective, and everywhere I kept calling to the trees, because what is beautiful in Disneyland, in Disney World, is that although there's a lot of superficial things created, there's still a lot of nature, lots of flowers, lots of natural trees. They love attention. I mean, remember we spoke about this before, that forests and places where a lot of people go unconsciously, they just take. So these trees also needed the giving back, but it felt like there was something. There was something being vibrated in that area that was positive to nature. And it felt to me like it is somebody that has a say, somebody high up that has a say about these things, and there is a positive energy, but that they need to be balanced. And I don't claim to know what that balance needs to be, but I trust that if you send positive energy or light energy or whatever you feel you need to send, it will help bring that balance. So that was a really beautiful experience to me. And the experiences with the animals were really beautiful, especially with the squirrel that kept standing up. He was ready to run. And then I would go like, and he would just fall down on his stomach and look at me. And I would be able to come a bit closer, and he would want to run. And I would go, and he would fall down. And we were playing this game a while until somebody else came past and he just ran away. I like that they were still wild. Not one squirrel, when you sat down to eat, not one squirrel, not one bird came to ask for food. And that to me was beautiful. So, yeah, that was the harmony. And then I think the greatest surprise to me was going to Buckingham Palace, because I've been there before, But we felt like, my mother-in-law hasn't been to London before. But while we were there for a couple of hours, we decided, let's just get on the tube and go, and let's try and get to Buckingham Palace and something else. But we didn't have enough time. So went to Buckingham Palace, where again, I just felt like spirit just got me there for a reason. And I was very surprised when I came around the corner and I felt the goddess Venus, and she asked me to anchor that energy of purity and integrity there that I spoke about in my weekly YouTube video. So that was quite profound, and how we need to be sovereign in our own lives, and how we need to take responsibility for our own integrity, and what we created, how we created, and what we decide we believe for ourselves. So that was really beautiful. And I walked around the statue of the angels in the circle. I don't know what they call it. And I made my video, and I actually lost the family, and I had to walk around the statue 3 times. And it was also like they were just asking me to do that, or making me do that, in order to bring in that energy and to create that portal of integrity. And what they also showed me there is that Princess Diana was the start of this energy at the palace. And she actually anchored the energy of integrity and compassion in that space. And that I don't know much about the royals after Diana passed away. I didn't really follow them anymore or bothered to know about them. But I do know about Kate, and they said to me that Kate is another incarnation of that feminine energy, that powerful Venus energy that is being anchored there. And I did see somewhere on the front of a magazine that she's ill. So I just felt like also supporting her on her path and what she is clearing there and anchoring there. I think she's got a big job that she's doing. So do anybody want to ask me a question?
It's quite strange for me that the trees are like slumbering and that we had to wake them up. Do we know why?
I was also surprised by that. And it's like I said, it's like they have retreated from what humanity has become, and waiting for humanity to be ready to choose awareness. We are at a critical time with that. And I saw that at the space station. I mean, the launch that we saw, I was like, really? There's a launch while we're here? And then I heard there's another launch in 2 days and another launch in 2 days, because Elon Musk is just sending up satellites, hundreds of thousands of them. It's not even strange to see a launch anymore. And I'm like, fuck, is this where we are? And it's like it's getting out of hand, because there's not enough intention and love being put back into our planet if we are already planning to escape from it. And this is why the trees have retreated, because the interaction that they have with humans is not what it was anymore. And this is why we are being called to return to nature, to recreate that bridge. And this is why we went to Ireland. And this is why I'm being called to go to Scotland and probably England afterwards, because we have to be that bridge. I feel more than ever like I just need to show up. I don't know how, but I'm not going to overthink it. It's that space where we have to put ourselves aside and what we believe about what we can afford and do or not do. It's time to show up. Remember, as we spoke in the classes about the 5D path, and how the angel said that's all about showing up. And I hear people saying, oh, but I can't afford this and I can't afford this. And I can really tell you that I couldn't afford America, but somehow I did. Before I would have said to you, no way, there's no way I can go. That 2 weeks between Ireland and America, I mean, I had no money left after Ireland. But miracles happen. It is applied. And this is why it's so important that this message goes out to bring the earth spirits, the tree spirits, the water spirits, all of them back into awareness so that we can create a change that is in harmony maybe with technology, but not overruled by technology. Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks.
So I think what I realized with every tree that connected with me and writing something into my being is that I'm just the messenger. I'm actually next to those giants. I mean, I'm nothing. I'm really just this little bee carrying pollen from one flower to the next flower. But it was such an honor to be able to show up. And it was such an honor that some of them recognized me and that I did have past lives there before. And that happened in the space where they were happier, where there wasn't a lot of human interaction, and they were more awake there. They were closer to the surface there and more available to connect to. But in Yosemite, it was like they were in such a deep slumber that I couldn't get through to them. And I just kept calling, and it felt like they were stirring, but I don't know. And I think that is why more people need to be in this awareness. And I actually saw another guy from China, a Chinese guy that also climbed over the barriers and hugged the trees and spent time with the trees. I thought, yay, I'm not alone. There are others like me, so it's just about showing up. It's just about taking part, whether we understand it or not. Whether we understand what they are writing into us or not, it's just that communication is so important and to be the connection point. I'm trying to think of if there was any other experiences. Anybody want to ask me something about what you saw in my photos, maybe?
Belinda?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, after the Ireland trip, when you spent time with those redwoods, did it feel like you connecting the trees in Ireland with the redwoods well, that you're part of that network? I keep being left with that sense of that yew tree saying we're taking the energy to all the trees wherever we go. And I was wondering whether you felt something around that and whether that was part of the awakening and part of the bridge. And just your thoughts and your experience about that would be nice to hear.
Absolutely. I think what happened in Ireland was a preparation for me for America. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I think I would go to America. I've never wanted to go to America. Of course, I wanted to see the Redwoods, but if I could do it without going to America, I would have done it. But I had to go there in order to fulfill that. And like I say, I've never thought that it would come to pass in this life. And it feels like Spirit made that happen. They made me show up so that I could continue with what started in Ireland. And this is why I feel we need to show up for whatever needs to happen in Scotland and whatever comes afterwards, because what happened in Ireland, not even I suspected. I mean, they can tell me before that we are going to connect deeper to Earth, but I didn't know it was going to happen like that. I mean, wow. So I think it's all about, going deeper into your soul energy and realizing that your soul didn't just come to survive or create something. Maybe we are just here to be sent to certain places, just asked to show up and be the channels of these energies that need to come back to life, flow. It has made me think more about stories of ancient Ireland and Scotland, and I'm sure all the other countries have it as well, and that strong energies of nature, which was said to have receded beneath the earth. And we need to ask ourselves why. What part did humanity play in that? And I can't help but think it was since war started. It was since fighting started, fighting over land and the abuse of land and the use of land. And, in America, there's not really a sense of being vegan at all. Even being vegetarian is sort of alien there. So there's so many burger places that it made sense to me why the beef industry is so big there. And I thought that also makes sense why nature is retreating, because the abuse is just so immense. And we need to ask ourselves how we take part in that. Or are we going to be the change? Anything else?
Mm.
Are you saying something, Maria? I can't hear you. Okay. So I hope what I was trying to say made sense. Yes, Anne-Maria?
Just wanted to say thank you. That was lovely to listen to.
And thank you for your photos on the group, the nature that you visited. That was also beautiful, that you shared on the Ireland group.
It was wonderful, yeah. Thanks.
I think because our energies were intensified in Ireland and the changes has been made that we are connecting to plants and nature in a different way than ever before, that we didn't expect or couldn't plan at all. It just happened in some sort of unique way. And Sharik has also said to me that she has felt a deeper connection in her work, and she was meeting a little elephant while I was in America. Sharik, I don't know if you want to share.
Yeah, I think well, firstly, I just also want to thank you for sharing your experience in the US. It made me think a lot about Ireland. So, yes, this session is lovely because it just makes me tap into those emotions again and connecting to those trees. But I think that elephant shoot was my first shoot after Ireland again, and I think I just have a deeper understanding of my how can I say it? A deeper understanding of the communication that does take place between myself and the animals, whereas normally I would feel it but not recognize it. So I was so excited to actually go and see these elephants. They were adults and a tiny orphan. And there's one adult that's huge, absolutely huge. And I just stood there and we just sort of looked at each other, and it felt exactly like standing in front of one of those huge trees that we saw in Ireland. And I knew he was digging around inside. I don't know what he was doing, but I could feel it. And I really enjoyed being able to feel it for the first time, really. It was incredible.
You know, talking about Avatar, they also say in the Avatar movies, I see you. And it's the same meaning as namaste, that soul in me recognizes the soul in you. And Tariq, you knew about the horse that I was working with, that I said when I was doing healing for this horse, your energy also came up and I pulled your energy into the healing. And when I met this horse, and the cameras came with, and they were filming us, but I approached this horse and he just stood there and he just looked. And, you know, when they just look at you like that for a moment and then they continue like you're not there all of a sudden, quite weird, but that moment, and it felt like 2 or 3 minutes. It couldn't have been that long, but it felt like we just stood and stared. Then I thought, are they going to film all of this? And then the horse moved. But, you know, there's so many special moments that we can have with these animals, like I also had with the and the chipmunks were so cute. I'm sad that I didn't see any bears, but this is also what I wanted to share with you guys was, like I said, I always ask Mother Nature for special experiences with her creatures to be able to see her through their eyes. And I did post a picture of that deer, but there was one other one where the deer just ran past a car that was in front of us, and I got such a fright. I could just see how fragile those legs were, and it was going like downhill road, downhill like this. And the only thing I saw was how fragile it was and how that car almost connected with it. And it was such an intense, powerful moment of how powerful something so fragile could be and how agile. And, you know, we don't want to be fragile. We don't want to show people or the world when we are fragile, but there's so much power in it. And that to me summed up Mother Nature's energy, or Grandmother Nature. Among those trees, I really saw why the angels call her Grandmother Nature. She's not Mother Nature, she's Grandmother Nature. And that fragileness was just so intense with me. And then there was the other little deer. There were a couple of ones that were tame, you know, that didn't have the same impression on me. But the one next to the road where we drove past it, and I wasn't in time to take a photo. I got a little photo of her running away. And then my sister-in-law stopped the car and I walked back. And she was behind, she got in behind a bush to see the little eye a bit. And I just stood still and spoke to Grandmother Nature. And then the eye popped out behind the bush, the little ear. And we had this moment, and then another car came and she dashed away. But you know, those moments with wild creatures, whereas the other deer are also still wild, but they are used to humans. And like the chipmunks and the squirrels, they become used to humans. But they are not that wild, but you get a sense of that. I almost want to say that single energy inside, that single energy that is nature, that is part of each and every individual. It's like when you look into their eyes, yeah, you can feel their personality and their energy. But in moments where they stare at you like that and connect to your soul, it's beyond the individual. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I experienced it. And that's how I experienced that quiet amongst the redwoods. It's almost like the silence between, or the space between things, but it was tangible. You know, it's almost like that silence that they say you can cut with a knife. It's a presence. It's almost physical. It's so there. Really like holy ground. And that's why I often feel that animals like elephants almost have tree energy. And I remember Odin, my first Odin as well, when I used to hug him, his chest was so big, was like a tree trunk that I used to hug, and he felt like a tree. He felt like I was hugging a tree, and all my worries would just dissipate. So there are these interactions, but it depends on our energy. It depends on how we live and portray that nature energy within ourselves, so that nature energy in you can be recognized by the nature energy in a wild animal or a tame animal, but in an animal nonetheless, even in a tree or a rock. Okay, any other questions? All right. So if you don't want to ask anything else, I just want to do a meditation where I project this energy to you, see what they want to share with you. I'm sure other things will come up that I will think afterwards. Oh, I forgot to share that. But what came up, I feel is most important. So you can just gently close your eyes and adjust yourself into a comfortable position. If you want to lie down, you can lie down. Just feel yourself within this space. And Maria, just turn off your mic as well. Thank you. Just allow yourself to become very, very present. Become aware of your stillness, of your non-doing. Become aware of the quiet in your mind, where you don't expect yourself to be doing anything. Imagine yourself in a beautiful forest among the giants. Some of the trees, I tried to work out how many levels they would have if they were buildings. And I would count up to 8 or 9 often. And that was just me randomly trying to figure it out. Some of these trees are thousands of years old. Some of them fall down. New trees grow out of them. New trees grow on top of them. And so the forest carries on. And even dead and burned trees, spirit lingers, becomes a part of the whole, supporting the consciousness of the grove. And what is important for the one is important for all. And what is important for all is important for the one. These trees have a will to continue. When the fires rage and the fires find a spot where they can enter into the inner sanctum of the tree, they burn the inner part of the tree away, and the tree becomes like an empty husk, but that outside part keeps growing. It keeps reshaping. And if the mother tree can't survive, daughter trees will sprout. In some spaces, I've counted up to 8 trees that come up around the space where the mother tree used to be. Sometimes the mother tree would still be there, but there's this will to survive, this will to reach up as high as possible, to continue, to be a presence upon this earth, an ancient presence. And although they are threatened by humanity and industry, they rely on a select group of humans that buy up these forests to conserve. This is up to individuals. And these individuals are called and through these humans, these giants keep surviving. Some of them have beautiful matriarch energy, powerful, old feminine energy. And then there are the grandfather trees. I met one that was 2,500 years old. What it has seen in its lifetime cannot be comprehended by the human mind. And it lives among us, next to our highways, next to buildings and shops, tourist attractions. It stands reminding us of eternity, reminding us that we used to be able to live so much longer. When we took care of our earth, when we allowed nature to care for us, to shelter us, to feed us, without us controlling her, we grew old with her. Hundreds of years we lived. And then we started breaking nature down to suit us. We reduced our lives. And the more we control nature, and the more we alter nature, the younger we die. The less we survive the struggle we create. In this beautiful forest where you're walking among the ferns, the little flowers, clovers, among the fallen giants. Allow your heart to listen to a tree that is calling to you. Follow that call while you listen to the creek, the pure mountain water, the birds. Follow that inner calling in your heart until you find this tree. Imagine putting your hand against the tree and greeting it. Imagine this tree's consciousness focused on you, recognizing your soul energy, greeting you like an old friend. Allow this tree to connect to your heart center and to tell you what it needs from you. And then allow yourself to tell the tree what you need. Then put your chest against the tree, your cheek, your arms. Feel its vibration in your chest, your whole body. Feel it singing, humming its own song. As it writes into your heart, symbol of its own existence, its presence, and every other tree or earth spirit that connects with you anywhere in the world will be able to read it there, to recognize them. And remember, Grandmother Earth says, when you do no harm, all of nature will respond to that. Do no harm. Take responsibility. Be pure. And nature will reward you with beautiful connections and communication. May the love and the joy of your being fill you in every way. May you know the quiet of a tree standing still for thousands of years. May you know what it is to simply be, to wait, to be present, to be an example, be the reality of what is, beyond what can be seen or done. Allow the transmission of this energy from Grandmother Earth, from nature, to sink into your heart center, to be wrapped around you like a blanket, where you will sing your song in the night as you fly on clouds of eternity, where you connect to ancient pathways that your feet have walked, where your journey will take you deeper and deeper into the truth of who you are, who you shall become, and how you shall return to your greatest possibility. And just keep yourself in that space for as long as you need. I'm going to gently leave this meeting, and you just hold yourself there until you are ready to return. Feel the companionship of the trees around you and how that space holds you in your space in eternity.